Alright, guys, welcome to Vlog 3. If you didn't know, my name is Kyle. I'm a filmmaker and content creator. Sometimes I do other stuff. I stream, I do D&D, and sometimes art, I guess. I don't know. I do a lot of random stuff. But this year, I've been trying to make vlogs every week about things that come up in my week that I find important or something I just want to talk about, right? And I usually take suggestions from my friends or any of the viewers, or by usually I mean I would try to, and the first two I didn't, but this one, yes, I actually got a suggestion from one of my friends recently, which was the topic of self-love. And yeah, I mean self-love is like a really like big topic, and I feel like it would take a lot of time and thinking to really explain it like as a whole. And even like with that in mind, right, it's different from like me to you or to other people. Like self-love is defined as like different things for each person, right? Each person has their own idea of self-love and how they actuate it in their own lives, right? But for the people who don't really have a grasp on what self-love is or have a hard time like figuring out what self-love is for themselves, this video is for you. This goes out to my friends who have a hard time with life and finding love in themselves, right? I hope that you guys really enjoy this video. But to go forward, right, I'm not going to be able to really explain what self-love is for you, but I can help sort of guide you to like figuring out what self-love is for yourself. And before we start any of this, I do want to introduce a little special someone to the vlog. And it's been a long time coming. She's very upset because it's really late at night and she wants to go to bed. And if you can hear her huffing, you can already guess who it is. We got a little special guest star, Kiara. Say hi, Kiara. Hey. Hi, vlog. Oh, she just wants a hug. And she really just wants to go to sleep. Look how wiggly she is. She doesn't even want to be in this vlog as much. Oh, I got you, dude. Anyways. Yeah, okay. Kiara's been actually a big part of my life and a big like figure in me figuring out what self-love is. Just wanted to introduce her real quick because why not, right? There are like a couple of concepts that I've just sort of narrowed down throughout this week while sitting on like meditations, like morning pages and other stuff, right? And like outlines. And these four concepts are what I believe are the most important in figuring out what self-love is for yourself, right? With that in mind, here are the four things I really narrowed down. And these first three are the most intertwined and connected, right? Like I find that they all work sort of in tandem. These three concepts all work in tandem, right? The fourth one sort of just comes on, like, it's something that takes time to develop, right? It's probably the hardest one out of the four to develop if you already have a hard time really grasping the concept of self-love for yourself. So let's start with the first three, which are patience, forgiveness, and understanding. These three are heavily intertwined, as I said before. And so yeah, these three topics are very intertwined with each other, and they all sort of connect to each other in some way or form, right? Like they each sort of depend on each other. They're sort of like the three pillars. And then the fourth like thing is like sort of like the last table leg that I guess is sort of there. Like it's a three-legged table in a way, and the fourth one's sort of just there to like really make sure that everything's sort of like together. I don't know if I like that analogy. Well, anyways, those are the three big ones, and I'm going to start with like patience, right? So patience, right? You know, it's funny because my patience was really tested today when I actually filmed this. This is actually the second time I've filmed this entire vlog. Earlier today, I filmed the whole thing. I was about to edit it. I already exported it to my computer, all the data and whatnot, all the files. And lo and behold, last minute, I didn't realize this, and I did some research prior to this too, right? Is that my audio was all fucked up. It's all gimbaled and gombled and clipping like crazy and randomly ducking. Like my voice is like fluctuating from a low point to a high point to a low point to a high point, and I was just so confused. I'm like, why did the microphone sound like that? And yeah, I've been trying to figure out audio, obviously, as you can tell between all three of these videos. But what I'm trying to say is I was frustrated, right? I was frustrated with the fact that I messed up and I had to redo things. And I was sort of just crashing out. And I was just like, why am I even doing this? Like, I'm basically barely making my deadline. I'm technically past the deadline. I have technically bleeded my like recording session into Sunday, which could be the beginning of the week or the end of the week, depending on how you see it. But I was just like, I just need to get this done because it matters to me, right? Patience is being able to be okay with things not going your way and watching things just sort of like not move at the pace you'd like it to. And it's really important in regards to self-love because you have to be patient with the things that will improve you as a person, whether it be for your personal growth or your physical health. These things require time, and you're already putting the effort for it, so you just got to give it a little more time and space to grow. You'll grow as holistically as a person in return. But that sort of goes into the next thing I want to talk about, which is forgiveness. You have to be willing to forgive yourself if you mess up. Like as I did earlier, I absolutely messed up my audio, and I was pissed at myself, and I was just like, damn, this sucks. You messed up a ton, and you're a screw up. But in those moments when I thought that to myself, I'm just like beating myself up, and I'm just like, you really flubbed it up after researching it, and you could have done better. But I was reminded in the back of my head, like a little thought sort of just tickled me, was that I'm trying, right? This isn't something that I'm actually great at. Like I'm okay at it, and I'm still trying to be better, right? I'm still trying to improve on it. I'm still trying to make it content like this. And I can't just beat myself up if I want to be more and do more, right? I can't beat myself up for trying, so I have to be able to forgive myself and encourage myself to actually do more. So that's sort of how forgiveness works, if you get my drift. Being able to forgive yourself for messing up and making mistakes instead of reprimanding yourself for making those mistakes. If you go out and ask out a person and it doesn't go well, that doesn't mean you have to just give up on asking people or just be like, wow, I suck. I'm never asking out a person again until I do X, Y, and Z. No, you don't have to do that. And also, I'm not saying that you should excuse yourself if you mess up with anything, Obviously things have to have consequences, but I'm saying that you don't have to really just be too critical on yourself, right? If you're making effort, if you're making some effort at all, right, to just move forward or make progress or do something that is just out of your norm, I commend you, and you should commend yourself. Forgive yourself if you make a mistake. Forgive yourself if you cheat on your diet. Forgive yourself if you say something dumb by accident, right? As long as you try to improve and move forward, I think you're fine. Take it easy on yourself. This sort of ties into understanding, right? A little bit, in a way, right? Understanding is sort of like a little bit of empathy for yourself, as well as the world around you, right? It's like empathy in a way, right? We have to be empathetic to ourselves and understand why we made that mistake and how we can prevent it, as well as why these things we do are important to us. It's sort of like introspection in a way. And I feel like it varies from person to person how deep we can go in terms of being introspective before we really get into our heads, actually. But yeah, in regards to self-love, being able to be understanding of yourself when you make a mistake sort of helps bridge the gap between the frustration and forgiveness aspect of making mistakes, right? Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that try to be more understanding of yourselves when you're making mistakes, as well as your surroundings. Did the world screw you over? Was this in your control? Was this out of your control? And being okay with either or. Like, really, these three really just intertwine in a way. There's like this random thread that really like binds them all together, because you have to have patience and forgiveness and understanding to all work together to actually make them work. It's sort of like a little triangle. It's like a little pyramid. No, that's not it either. I don't got a good answer or analogy for that. I know it's sort of weird explaining understanding, but you really do need patience and forgiveness to get to that point. But it's like, nonetheless, even though I didn't really flesh it out, I don't think it's any less important than the other two. But once you have all three, I think this is the last step in really like figuring out what self-love is, which is appreciation. Self-appreciation is a very difficult thing for anyone to develop, right? Like, as much as patience is a hard virtue to like develop, I think that appreciation is just as difficult, especially with self-appreciation. A lot of people who don't really have a lot of self-love or really a big concept of self-love struggle with self-appreciation, or just their appreciation of just anything in general, because they're frustrated with like life and they're not feeling great about it, and it happens. Sometimes things aren't ideal, sometimes things suck, and we're all prone to feeling these things. But in those moments, right, for me, right, for me, in moments when I feel like that, I've sort of just found some appreciation for myself and people who care about me. I know when I'm feeling down and I discredit myself, or I feel like absolute crap and garbage, and I feel like just not enough or not really worth it, that it can't really be true. There are people in our lives that care a ton about us, whether it be your family members, your friends, your loved ones, or colleagues. There are plenty of people who see things that they appreciate in you. And, when you have a hard time finding those things, right, that you appreciate about yourselves, just remind yourself of that these people appreciate you, and there are certain qualities that they appreciate in you. Sometimes I borrow some of that appreciation that they have in me for myself. Like, it's really dumb, but my dog appreciates me a lot. When I feel upset about my progress as a person, I think about how my dog is a lot happier that now that I've put more effort in taking care of her and spending time with her, as well as like other people in my life, like my partner Alice. Mentioned in the other vlog, you've seen the picture. I'm not gonna put another one, but yeah, in recent years she's come to appreciate me more because of my like personal growth in our relationship. So when I'm feeling like crap about like life and other stuff, and I can't find other things to appreciate about myself, I think about how she appreciates me as a person and how far we've come in our relationship. So there's that, right? There's that. Sometimes I think about my mom and how much I help her out with like random crap. Not like a lot of crap, but like just stuff in general, and how much he appreciates me. Sometimes I think about my dad when I write some of his speeches for him, or like some other stuff, and how much he appreciates the fact that I know a lot about like speeches and other stuff and other linguistic things, and that makes me feel better about myself. Regardless, what I'm trying to say is that you can borrow people's appreciation for you and use it sort of like as a crutch, or like some handlebars, or like training wheels, until you're able to find something in yourself that you appreciate, right? Something that'll really uplift you whenever you need that boost, right? That little North Star that you need. But yeah, yeah, so that's how I think you can really figure out self-love. Like it's not gonna be an easy one-to-one, like A to Z, like thing where you got like simple steps that'll help you figure out every single thing. I'm not really promising that. So yeah, with all four of those things in mind, you sort of just get to the point where you have to figure out how to actualize those feelings of self-love for yourself. People usually do it in the forms of like improving their health through exercise, or maybe improving upon skills or like hobbies, right? Developing themselves in any way. I think that's self-love. Or just taking the time to like give yourself a break. I know plenty of people who are on the grind who just grind themselves to like an absolute nub instead of giving themselves a 5-second breather or like a little bit of time to just decompress and like figure things out. Self-love varies from person to person, and I know I've beaten this point in like a nail at this point with a fucking hammer. So with all that in mind, it sort of helps you figure out a little bit of what self-love would mean to you, right? Or like what it could be to you. It could be things like exercising. It could be things like improving on some random skills or hobbies, or it could even be taking breaks for your mental health, or putting boundaries down to respect your mental health. All of these are different ways of practicing self-love, and practicing it, it's important. It's a practice. It takes time. It's not something you get instantaneously, and it's not something you always have sometimes. So I hope that this video helped you in any way or any form at all, even if it's just a little bit. And I hope that you share this with someone who you think might need it. And I hope that helps them as well. Regardless, yeah, we're at the end of the video. If you want to recommend a topic to me, feel free to comment down below in the video, and I'll try to talk about that subject. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Or DM me on Instagram, which is also down below. Or on Letterboxd. I don't know if you can DM me there. Regardless, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I hope to see you guys soon. Oh, also, don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. All right. Bye, guys.